This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Today's show focuses on the question of, does Tesla force Germany into recession with the Model 3 and its impact not only on Germany, but also on U.S. automakers as well. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again. It's been a while since we did a live show, so I hope you guys will be reasonable so we can get this show done and everybody doesn't get mad at me because I was paying attention to your questions and comments more so than the material we have to cover. I wanted to review the fact that we haven't done a live show in like 2 or 3 weeks, so this is it's been a while. I wanted to first thank our Patreon supporters. I wanted to note to you that we're doing as many as 4 other shows for those who register as Patreon supporters on a weekly basis. We're also providing a lot more information than we can directly during the main show as well. So I wanted to encourage you to consider that. Wanted to also encourage you to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content that's presented. So I wanted to note that today is a bit of a sad day for us because I'm kind of a German fanatic. Usually at the end of the show, I do my brief German piece, Wie geht's, wie stehst noch immer auf zwei Beinen, which means, how are things going while you're standing on 2 feet in German. So I'm sort of a German fanatic, driven by a number of things, studied in college, studied in high school, sort of World War II and what happened, developed a real appreciation for the Bren gun and the Sten gun, as well as things like the King Tiger, the Tiger tank, the Panzer, a number of sort of cool sort of German technology elements. And so I also started the day by playing some Beethoven, Ode to Joy. So I definitely get to German out in this show to some extent, and it's kind of cool. What we're looking at covering today is that it was announced that there's a problem going on, which is that basically the Model 3 has driven Germany into a recession. And so we kind of take a look at sort of what's going on with this, why, and sort of what does it mean for Germany, what does it mean for other countries. So basically, there are a number of touch points here. The problem that's popped up is that while there are large companies like Daimler, BMW, and VW that have a lot of different operations, it turns out that most of the profit is made on the high-end cars, meaning above $50,000. So while they can produce inexpensive vehicles and do in very large numbers, the fact that Tesla has entered and is dominating the market of 50,000-ish cars and up to the point where Tesla is outselling the top end of all of the German makes combined with its offering, in particular the Model 3, it's resulted in a situation where, as we know, Daimler initially announced they were going to lay off 10,000 people, then they increased it to 15,000. And then, the layoffs that'll happen at the other makes haven't really come out yet, but we expect them to be rather large in number. We also, so there's a lot of things to look at here. Let's start with the 7X rule. So as we've discussed previously, when it comes to auto companies in the ICE business, every auto job has a 7X, or 7 times the number of jobs that depend on it. So for example, the restaurant, the dry cleaner, all of the ancillary businesses that are run by folks that service the auto industry ends up being 7 times the impact. So one of the data points that we observed was that it was pointed out that as much as 15% of the workers in certain cities were actually auto workers, and that those cities are severely impacted by the layoffs that are now starting. And we thought it was kind of interesting because if you multiply 7 times 15, you get the feel that the jobs haven't gone to zero, but those kind of trends belie the fact that you're going to have large areas of those economies that are going to be in very bad shape. So I don't know if Germany, I mean, I think Germany has a feel for what's going to hit them, but it's mind-blowing, number one. Number two, Elon has an obsession with Germany. So he had a choice to build a new factory in a lot of places, but he chose Germany. So this is the ultimate, in my mind, of brutality, where you have a company that's basically putting your country into a recession and possibly into a depression, and you're going to build a new factory for them right there in your home country, validating the folks that are losing their jobs buying cars from the very company that's causing your country to go into a recession. So if that isn't the ultimate form of like, that is nuts, I have to say, I'd be hard pressed to find another case of that happening. The next touch point for us is sort of Elon in many ways is a very good guy, and he makes a hard effort towards the needs of society / the economy. One of the challenges that we're seeing come up here is on one hand, Elon giveth and Elon taketh away. So Elon is trying to forward how much electric vehicles are out there, but on the other hand, he has a thing going where he's sort of taking away. So you'll notice that there's a whole incident with the Nurburgring in which the Porsche Taycan was introduced with much fanfare and did very well performing on the Nurburgring in Germany. What was mind-blowing is the fact that all of a sudden you had Elon announced that he was shipping their latest, highest performance Model S, I guess the plaid version, to do test runs on that track with special wheels, an extra motor, all kinds of things. So while on one hand, Elon is wanting to help movement forward in electricity, we also have another phenomenon happening, which is he's saying that as you guys start to come after me, I'm going to blow your doors off, and let's do so on the Nurburgring. And I guess as we watch this roll out over the last, 6 months, and it's now over because I think they beat the numbers of the Taycan, I just thought it was weird because when you look at how they had to equip the Model S, it did allow it to perform on that track. What I was very surprised by is the fact that you have a four-door sedan that's putting their hurting on a very well-regarded, very well-equipped Porsche sports car, and you're beating the vehicle with the plaid Model S, and the Taycan hasn't had to deal with the newest version of the Roadster, which is actually perhaps a 20% better performance in every metric than the current top-of-the-line Model S. So I guess I've been very surprised to watch how this has played out because, it kind of makes no sense. On one hand, Elon is saying we want the other vehicles to come out, but on the other hand, every time somebody comes out with something that's half decent, he quickly rolls in there to make it clear that you guys are not going to gain an edge on me. And so the lengths that he went to, including sending a portable fast charging facility along with several cars to be tested. Wow. So, so we thought this was fascinating. Another element to all this is our discussion of our friend Bob Lutz. As you know, Bob had predicted at this point that there'd be the demise of Tesla as the major makes around the world started introducing electric vehicles that would decimate Tesla on every front. So he actually shifted his commentary to say, first, he was proud of the fact that an American vehicle could enter Germany successfully and do as well as they are. And then, and so I was kind of stunned to see him say that and switch up, even though he was nitpicking at Tesla on other issues. He admitted that, in fact, yes, Tesla's putting a sales hurting on the top of the line vehicles coming out of the three biggest makes in Germany. So instead of things going as Lutz described, where Tesla would be destroyed, you're having the heads or CEOs of all three German companies being replaced, fired, or retired. You also have layoffs occurring at all those firms while Tesla's hiring. You also have Tesla building a factory in Germany while they're closing theirs down or reducing activity. So I think that where things are going is pretty clear. And let's add to the pile of this makes no sense, which is Germany has known since 2014 the prowess of Tesla's battery capabilities, both software and hardware. And they basically had 5 years to respond, 6 years, call it, since the breakup of the two companies. And the net of it has been kind of zero. If you only sell 5,000 of the EQCs that have come out, and then VW sells 2,600 of their electric SUV, and I got a chance to listen in on some conversations about sales, but basically the dealers aren't selling very many of those cars is confirmed by the numbers, but how they lay out to provide sort of customer service to customers is kind of really bad. So I would have to say that I'm very confused by Germany, because for a country where perhaps half its economic activity is dependent on these automobiles performing and selling, et cetera, I'm kind of stunned at what's occurring. We did a show recently where we kind of covered, kind of what's going on in the industry, cars, et cetera. And one of the points we'd made about U.S. operations was that there was a big problem that popped up for the U.S., let's say 25 years ago, which was the arrival of Toyota and other Japanese makes offering consumers excellent vehicles that lasted for a long time with low repair costs. So the dealers were a little mad because they were making a killing on U.S. vehicles breaking down all the time. But once we had the entry of the Japanese, they showed the kind of quality, and then consumers figured out that they could have cars that lasted more than 3 years, and it was a nightmare in terms of market share loss for U.S. manufacturers. One of the things we kind of brought up casually when it comes to Germany is the fact that, there's something in the auto industry, I believe it's called the 100,000 rule. So once 100,000 of any vehicle sells, you have enough reason there for secondary market folks to go ahead and produce parts, because they know they'll be able to sell them to consumers eventually that are, I guess, those consumers, 100,000 vehicles, you basically have an opportunity to sell spare parts to those individuals as those vehicles come off of warranty. So one of the challenges Germany has is that for the highest line vehicles of VW and others, you really don't get to that 100,000 units. So as a result, you're relying on OEM manufacturer of parts. And because those parts are so expensive, you end up with a lot of consumers having to give up their cars rather than simply having them repaired. So basically, in Germany, you have this nightmare happening where people that purchase any of the top three makes have a problem, which is after you get off a warranty, nobody can afford to repair the car anymore, because you have a car worth $5,000, but the parts cost $10,000. So you pretty much have to sell, trade in, or whatever, because you can't afford to own those cars beyond warranty. I was told that part of the game there that goes on is that there's an effort to add new features in order to differentiate the vehicles from competitive products. And those are the exact same features that have been added for differentiation that end up being very costly to repair because of the fact that they're not ubiquitous. So in essence, you have consumers, when it comes to their German makes, saying, hey, we'd love to buy Germany, and we enjoy buying Germany, but if we're not doing it on a lease or getting rid of it in 3 years while under warranty, we can't afford to own it. A follow through of this came from one of our viewers where he pointed out to me that he actually gave up his Model 3 because he enjoyed the performance. He enjoyed being among the group of folks, that operated with their Model 3s. But he ended up with a severe problem, which is there's a lot of repairs and caution you have to take when dealing with it. That with the Model 3 performance he has, he can drive it hard, put it in the garage, and does not have to do all the little care and maintenance takes that the owner of a Model 3 might do. And this also brings up part of the reason I'm sad. I used to have a Model 3 when I started out my career in journalism and autos 30 years ago. I had a chance to go to the Montvale, New Jersey headquarters of BMW and drive a couple of different versions of the 3 Series, as it was such a dominant car and a great car to boot. And then eventually I ended up buying the Model 3 or the 3 Series M3 as a convertible, and really, really enjoyed the car, but didn't enjoy the repair bills, cost of gas, a whole list of things that were going on there. And there are a lot of consumers buying Model 3s. They're now showing that they're moving down the same line. I think my most comical experience with the Model 3 was I went to a gas station. I was in California near Silicon Valley, and there's kind of an engineering guy that had purchased a V8 engined Model 3, and beautiful car, white with, it looked like a Duplex 2 almost, but just kind of a clear sunroof, just looked great. And I asked him, what's your experience like? And he said to me, look, it's a great performing car, but at 14 miles a gallon, it's brutal when it comes to gas prices. And as we all know, California has pretty much double the gas price that you currently have on the East Coast of the United States. So we can really see why consumers that are performance oriented are seriously moving over to the Tesla Model 3. So kind of where do things go from here? The analysis that I have is that the nightmare continues for Germany based on what Tesla's up to with the introduction of the Model Y this month of March. We're going to add to the nightmare that's being experienced sales-wise for all makes globally, but particularly for the luxury German domestics. And, will the bloodletting end soon? Wow. The fact of the matter is that the 200-mile range vehicles being produced, it's just not enough. The consumers have stated that if you ain't got 300 miles of range, I'm not interested, is basically 50, 60% of the population of car buyers. And Tesla's the only reliable offerer of those. Part of the show that I talked about was, the offerings from VW seem pretty good, but one of the things that I was really looking forward to us hearing about seeing was what happens in Sweden and some of the northern countries during the winter months, because a lot of people are happy with their car and range in summer, but when that range gets cut in half, how happy are you when you have to charge all the time and you have range anxiety and it's really cold, so you don't want to get stuck outside? And I think the number of sales pretty much articulate the fact that it ain't going well. So I have to say this is a sad day for our show because I'm a German fan, be it Beethoven, Wagner, really cool military equipment from World War II. The Autobahn is really cool. I like for those who have a need for speed, the ability to go on the Autobahn fast, very cool. So, we're, like I said, very, very strong German fans. And interestingly enough, the video you see behind me is the start program to encourage people to come and become mechanics at Tesla. And it's actually being, the speaker on it is Franz Holzmann, who is the head design guy at Tesla. And he has a German accent. So, when you look at Tesla, the they bought Grohmann Engineering, so they actually have a number of suppliers from Germany, as well as they have Grohmann Engineering producing or the automated facilities that'll go in around the world as Tesla expands. You also have, Elon's eagerness to sort of be in Germany and build a factory there versus other parts of Europe like Poland that would have been cheaper and easier to do. So, this show was really about the fact that Germany relies on the auto industry probably for 50% of its economic activity. And as Tesla expands globally, they're meeting up with in China, where it was BMW's number one market. They're meeting up against Tesla competition everywhere and getting devastated in the process. And the result is stock prices lower, layoffs, et cetera, for all of these firms. So this is a long-winded statement to say, wow, Germany, with how important the auto industry is, we're very surprised by their lack of forceful response. And, it's how many ways can we say this is a total nightmare for Germany and a totally positive circumstance for Tesla. The number I'll be interested in, I mean, we know from Donovan and our other viewers that Tesla's doing great in Scandinavian countries, Norway, et cetera. I think the ultimate insult and nightmare is going to be what we see happening in Germany, which is you have folks starting to drive Model 3s in large numbers, and their right next door neighbor compatriots are losing their jobs as those cars are purchased. So this is another reason why I'm a bit surprised and looking forward to, how is Germany going to work this out, given that they don't have any sort of high quality Tesla response. We shall see. So I think you get my drift here. I have to admit, I wanted to do this show because the impact that Tesla's having in Germany is demonstrative, and we're actually, without realizing it, GM, with their switch to building a battery factory, is making it clear they kind of get it as well, even though they can hide and sell large trucks and SUVs to avoid the onslaught Tesla's putting. And plus, they weren't losing a lot of high-end sales because that was all owned by VW, BMW, and Daimler. So yes, they're selling fewer Cadillacs, but they weren't selling that many of them before anyway. So the impact isn't as great, but Cybertruck is definitely rolling towards them too, with 500,000 plus reservations. So a lot of interesting data points here. I'm very disappointed in Germany and its response to what's going on. And I'm also really disappointed because, after I finished, we did a show where we were focused on how GM sort of created these cars that resulted in huge repair bills for customers that were forced then to buy new. It was amazing to me how Germany has kind of done the same thing by offering cars that are so technologically challenging that consumers can't afford to own them beyond the 3-year warranty period. And so they effectively are making those cars obsolete to consumers after 3 years. And that really flies in the face of the Japanese and Hyundai and Korean companies that are offering far longer life with excellent performance, et cetera. So when you add it all up, it just seems like Germany is kind of working really hard to give the business away to Tesla and to competitors from the Orient. I think it's sad, but hopefully, they're smart enough to figure it out and come up with solutions that allow consumers to sort of enjoy the ownership experience more than a very quick 3-year period and get out, or will bankrupt you. So I would say that we did our show here, but I can't say I'm thrilled about it. The facts are clear. Tesla is dominant in that space. They're opening a new factory, and they're going to put a lot of companies out of business in Germany. And I think that's unfortunate, but we're hopeful that, we can finally get a response that's substantive from the German manufacturers, which we have not seen. So we're at the point in the show right now, happy to take questions. I saw a few flashing across the screen and did not respond because we're trying to make sure we get through the material. So we're happy to, as we do our closeout things on health, et cetera, we're happy to respond. And please, all your German companies, I want to make sure that you guys don't all go out of business at once because I haven't had a chance to drive on the Autobahn yet. So please don't crash all at one time. I want to be able to go really fast in each of your vehicles on the Autobahn before you go under. So first, we have a reminder on our health tips. I want to add to our health tips today, and there's something that's been bugging me for a while I don't have the total answer to. So I'm getting my master's in cybersecurity and my Security Plus certification. And we have something called the Black Hat Conference in Las Vegas every year, and it focuses on cybersecurity professionals. So one of the rules of thumb is do not have any connectivity for your devices because there are all these techniques used by advanced cyber folks to basically steal everything on your phone and post it someplace. So one of the things that I've been noticing is there's large numbers of people, particularly with the earbuds from Apple, that move around with Bluetooth connecting devices. And you may not be aware of this, but it's actually possible to do something called blue jacking or blue snarfing, in which you can actually have people that you go by simply jump into your phone via your Bluetooth, either post things that you don't like or unload everything on your phone onto another device so they can go through it. So I wanted to mention this to you because there's a lot of security openings that aren't immediately fixed. And so I just wanted to encourage you guys to be aware of the fact that, a wired line to your phone is a better idea than riding your Bluetooth all the time because that stuff is really dangerous and it's an opening for folks to jump into your device or devices and create huge nightmares for you. A second cybersecurity tip for today is if you work in a company that has a lot of IT activity, you always want to have the IT professionals go on at least 1 week, if not 2 week vacations each year. Because if they're doing things that are totally illegal and not in the best interest of the organization, you'll find out because they can leave and their work can can be exposed. If the stuff they're doing is nuts, they can't go on vacation because they know that what they've been doing is no good, and therefore they do not want to go on vacation. And in theory, because it's hard to find and they're expensive, you may want to consider that as well. We just have some conversation going back and forth there. I was going to try to respond. Any rate, cybersecurity, very big deal. Blue snarfing, blue sharking, take a look at it because it's a problem for a lot of people they don't realize. Any rate, we'll respond. We're going to repost the comments and then respond to them in the after. Our health tips for today, don't forget 25 leg lifts per leg strengthens quad muscles. Make sure you don't have knee issues. The next item that I want to review is try a 5-2 or other diet when it comes to fasting as a way to better mental health. I wanted to also encourage you to no more than once a week for fried foods. To reduce the chance of type 2 diabetes. Also wanted to encourage you to, I'm thinking exercise, but we have a gentleman named Antonio Portofino who's on our show, and he reminded us that a couple of times a week. Weightlifting can help maintain bone density as you age as well. So I think another good tip to think about. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. In our fun German, Tschüss, au revoir, friendly Hitro, Hebrew, Choda Hafez, Farsi, Do Vidjenia from Vladimir, and wanted to, obviously, Zdravstvuyte. I think it sounds good, even though it says hello in Russian. Ni hao ma, Chinese hello, and then Hejdo for our friend Donovan in Sweden. And finally, in Jamaica, we say "Enough respect, walk good." I've got to learn hello in Korean because we have an invitation from one of our folks in that regard. So we look forward to learning more languages and being able to speak them and not looking dumb while we're doing it. I have to admit, I really hated this show because I like Germany and I hate to see them get smashed by Tesla. So this is a hard show. If you like Germany and you like Tesla, I feel like this is not my greatest moment or our greatest moment as a show. Thanks once again for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We could use some help on Patreon as well. The SpaceX trip is coming together nicely. Please just drop us an email if you'd like some information on that. Have a great day. Bye for now. And enough respect.